Hello and welcome to Reality Forward. I'm going to do a very quick 3-minute review on Magic Leap and some developments over the past few days and the Unite Berlin 2018 conference that just ended yesterday. Let's get started. So number one, let's take a look at Magic Leap's request for confidentiality. They just filed with the FCC some patents, and what they've asked for is 180 days in delay of any kind of confidential material being released to competitors. The reason they're doing this, they want to reduce the amount of harm to the company, and they don't want to give their competitors an unfair advantage from this public disclosure right away. Let's jump into the Magic Leap controller. Now, what we've seen about the Magic Leap controller so far has been kind of hidden unless you're a developer that has the product. Now, they acquired this inside-out tracking last year from Dakuda, and it's much different than the gyro inertial sensor tech, i.e. the HoloLens in this motion controller systems. Okay, they call it 6sense or STEM controllers. Now, it generates 3 orthogonal AC electromagnetic fields at frequencies between 28.5 and 42.2 kHz. This is to track orientation and position in 3D space. Now, these signals are unmodulated CW or continuous wave sine waves that drive 3 wire wound coils mounted on the controller. And what they've also been doing is they've submitted this for UL testing, and they're essentially trying to track if there's any kind of spurious emissions or other electromagnetic radiation that's going to interfere with this tracking. This is a sheet from this spurious tracking emissions at various frequencies, and as it looks right now, they just got approved. So let's jump into TAMD. Now, TAMD is something they discussed at Brian Schwab at the Unite Berlin conference, where he actually is looking at they talk about targeting, activation, manipulation, deactivation, and reintegration. Because the Magic Leap has eye tracking and other pose tracking abilities, they developed their own interaction model that combines the position and movement of the head, eyes, and hand within the context of an action to identify target objects or focus areas. Generally, what this means is they allow you to get behavior context from naturalistic inputs. So designers can say, okay, if you're playing a game, you're playing a card game, they can tell if you're checking the cards or if you're looking at a certain area and actually modify or change the game accordingly. It's really amazing. And Brian talked a lot about this the vestibular ocular hand coupling, where hands, eyes, or this transmodal definition are really what they've been focusing on in his lab for the last 4 years. Not just hand flicks and swipes, strokes, and bimanual actions, head nods, shakes, locomotions, etc., but also eye tracking and image recognition and many other things they're going to combine in for this TAMD integration for near field, midfield, and far field target vectoring. It's incredible. I can't wait to see some of it. And what you get out of this is that they're about 90 days out for launch. Okay. Next, let's go into spatial mapping. They discussed a little bit about block mesh, which is much different for the spatial mapping versus compared to other things. And here's a big differentiator from the ML1 to the HoloLens. ML1 uses head pose, a head pose prefab, to understand when to switch to far near depth cameras for hand recognition. This is completely 180 from the HoloLens, as their custom silicon HPU completely understands right away when you see a hand, whereas in ML1 you're going to actually have to program that in design so it can switch into the 8 different hand pose recognition for scene recognition. Now, their block mesh spatial awareness mapper uses cubic blocks. This is also a little bit different again, but what they're trying to do is the meshes between the blocks are not connected, and this allows easy and fast updating and changes within the mesh space. In other programs and HoloLens, other things, it'll completely remap the entire environment every time you want to do that, and they're trying to minimize that mesh and bake every single time because it consumes a lot of compute power. Okay. Brian also discussed many other things. I'm trying to keep this down to as low as possible, but I highly recommend you go ahead and take a look at their aspect of the Unite Berlin conference. I think it's at about 3 hours and 45 minutes into the 8-hour YouTube presentation. And Unity had a lot of things to discuss here. Obviously, it's their conference, but I'm just gonna touch on a few things here for Unity. Number one, they released information about Mars, which is their mixed and augmented reality studio for creating more robust software that interacts with the real world, the world environment in a real way. So the first thing we're going to look at right here is I want to do animation cues using the iPhone X. So what's incredible about this is in the past, and I was using Cinema 4D and your iPhone, you can actually use your iPhone and the 30,000 points generated by the infrared flood emitter to capture animation and record.
With this level of artistic quality,
So
Natalie can have really
used to take
dynamic
weeks
and
months.
expressive
And
emotional
as you can kind of see
performances.
up here,
And the
she's
data is being
creating
piped
an
directly in
avatar,
from her
a
phone
real-time
straight into
avatar,
the
not just
Unity
like an
editor.
emoji, but
All right,
she's
you're all warmed
recording
up?
things that
Yep,
she
I
can
think
put
so.
right into a
Wanna do some
game,
recording? All right.
which is just
Okay, so
an
you see over
incredible
here that we have
idea
this
to
big
think about,
record
right?
button.
I'm going to go into the facial recognition simulator, and this was also
videos of some of our
an
teammates,
incredible
and I can use their
adaptation
faces to
because
see
now
how this mask
you
will
can
work.
use your camera or any other kind of device
I
to
can
do
even
some
use my own
Snapchat
face
type
through the webcam.
interactions and captures within the software itself. You kind of
Good
see
luck.
him adding
Okay.
textures
Thanks.
real time
Let's get
within
some
the
crazy
Unity
horns on
platform
here.
itself, and I thought that was
Cool.
Obviously, every time they come
Notice
out
that
with
as
a
I
new
drag
beta
content
release,
onto the face,
it kind of blows my mind a
getting
bit.
some feedback
So
from
this was
landmarks here,
really,
like
really
my
cool. They added a
mouth
few
or
other
nose
things
or
as
eyebrows.
well.
And if I drop stuff on
and
them,
that's all I got
then
for
it'll
today.
track
Thank you guys
with
so much
those
for
features
tuning
of
in.
my
I wanted to
face.
keep these incredibly
All
short
in
and
the
brief,
editor.
so you can
All right.
kind of get
I'll
all the
do a start.
information out. But feel free to reach out to
Of
me.
course, this is Unity,
Drop
so
a,
you can
drop
build
a question
some
at the
really
bottom of this
beautiful
post, or
and
send me an
creative
email.
masks.
Send me a LinkedIn, whatever
Like
you
this
need,
one.
and I'll do my best to answer
Yeah,
your
that's
questions.
good.
Thanks, guys.
Great
Have a
look.
great weekend.